What's going on, guys? Aero here, and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about a few things in regards to Nintendo news. And so there's actually a couple of interesting things that have happened during the past few days. Nintendo did have one of their shareholder meetings where they talk with investors and give their financial reports on how their games and systems are doing, but we also had something pretty interesting that happened in regards to the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. Now before we get started, I do want to just quickly let you guys know that I am giving away a $20 Nintendo eShop card on my Twitter, so definitely just head over to my Twitter, give me a follow, and retweet that tweet if you want to have a chance to win. It's pretty simple. I'll have it linked in the description. I'll also make it in the pinned comment. You basically just have to go to my Twitter. I can't really do giveaways on YouTube anymore because YouTube just takes them down and marks them as scam, so I'm just gonna have to do them on Twitter now, so you can just go ahead and follow me there, and it's even better if you win because I can just DM you the code. So yeah, definitely go and follow me there if you want to have a chance to win it. Now the first two things do come from the Nintendo shareholders meeting, and so the first thing is actually in regards to Nintendo's next generation controller. Now it's definitely crazy to think about Nintendo's next generation, as the Switch did come out just a few years ago and it's doing extremely well right now. It's selling millions of units. There's really no need for Nintendo to be thinking already about what their next generation system is going to be like, but of course every company is always keeping that. I mean, like, the years are going to get here sooner than you think, so of course they probably had that stuff in the back of their mind. They probably even have like designs and ideas that they're working on. It's just crazy to think about that right now. Now this topic was brought up at their shareholders meeting, and of course as always I'm going to have every article linked in the description if you want to go and check them out for yourself, but basically someone brought up the idea and talked about how we've pretty much been playing a game where you watch a screen and play with the controller in your hand for like the past 3 decades, and they were wondering if that's ever going to change. Like, are we ever going to move from like looking at a screen and just having a controller in our hands? And so this actually sparked a pretty interesting discussion from a lot of Nintendo's people, and I do have their quotes right here and I'm going to put them on screen for you guys so you can see what they say. Now the first bit that we have here is from Mr. Shinya Takahashi, and you guys might know who this person is. He is the general manager at Nintendo, and he does appear sometimes in Nintendo Directs and Nintendo presentations. He actually did appear in the Nintendo one that happened at E3 this year. He was like the guy that appeared right towards the end when they revealed Banjo-Kazooie for Smash Bros. And Breath of the Wild 2. And so in regards to Nintendo's next generation controller, Mr. Takahashi said, "We are always dreaming up new things. For example, for 1-2 Switch, the first game released for Nintendo Switch, we suggested that people play by looking at each other and not at the screen. And for VR, we thought about how we could change not just the controller, but also the gameplay itself, and came up with Nintendo Labo Toy-Con 4 VR kit. The software exhibited at this year's E3 just happened to be mostly the type that is played with the controller in the hand looking at the screen. However, I think that you can see from the software we've created that we are always trying out new ideas." And so after Mr. Takahashi went, Mr. Miyamoto actually came up and said some pretty cool things as well, and he said Nintendo was the first to create the style of playing video games with a plus-shaped directional pad and additional buttons, which has now become the industry standard. It was also Nintendo that changed the original plus-shaped directional pad, which operated digitally in 8 directions, into the first analog input device that moves freely in all directions for Nintendo 64. This too is now common. We are proud to have created a variety of user interfaces that have now become industry standards. And Mr. Miyamoto also continued on by saying, "And as of now, in terms of accuracy and reliability, I believe this style is the clear winner. At the same time, I also believe that we should quickly graduate from the current controller, and we are attempting all kinds of things. Our objective is to achieve an interface that surpasses the current controller, where what the player does is directly reflected on the screen and the user can clearly feel the result. This has not been achieved yet. We have tried all kinds of motion controllers, but none have seemed to work for all people. As the company that knows the most about controllers, we have been striving to create a controller that can be used with ease and that will become the standard for the next generation." And after Mr. Miyamoto, the last person that talked about this topic was actually Mr. Ko Shioda, who is the head of Nintendo's hardware department. And so Mr. Shioda said, "The hardware development team is also taking on this challenge related to controllers, but from all the devices born from this effort, only a handful reach the consumer as products. We will only release a product into the world if it can be successfully used to control software well. We have not yet invented an all-purpose controller that is unlike any of the current devices. Then again, the conventional controller has slowly evolved from the traditional setup of a plus-shaped directional pad with A and B buttons. For example, when you take aim in Splatoon, the action may seem conventional, but the motion sensor gives a wonderful feel to the operation. So even if things may look the same, we are steadily embedding new technologies and finding good ways to use them. One of Nintendo's strengths is that we do not just think about the hardware, but are constantly thinking about it in conjunction with software. We will continue to put our best efforts into this area." And so just from that little discussion about Nintendo's next generation controller, there's so many cool ideas that come into your head about what Nintendo could mean when they say like they want to evolve the industry and stuff, and you can kind of agree with them. I mean, a lot of the things that Nintendo has done in terms of gaming has changed the industry, and a lot of video game companies have followed on to it. I mean, Nintendo was like the first company that introduced the directional pad, and now every controller pretty much has a D-pad. They pretty much introduced being able to move a joystick in all directions. Now every controller comes with a joystick. The Wii was like the first system to introduce motion, and a lot of other controllers use motion and gyro as well. So Nintendo has always continuously helped in kind of making all of these amazing ideas and putting them into controllers, and then the rest of the industry also makes them as a standard as well. And so it seems like that's what Mr. Miyamoto was talking about, where they kind of want to make more controllers that become an industry standard, where a lot of their competitors like Microsoft and Sony also start to use them. Now the next topic that I want to talk to you guys about is Nintendo Switch Online. And so Nintendo's global president, Mr. Shuntaro Furukawa, talked a little bit about Nintendo Switch Online at the Nintendo shareholders meeting, and he said, "The number of subscribers for Nintendo Switch Online has increased steadily since the service was launched last September, and it has now surpassed 10 million accounts. Nintendo Switch Online provides users the ability to play Nintendo Switch games over the internet both competitively and cooperatively. It also provides services such as Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, Save Data Cloud Backup, and smartphone device application services such as online lobbies and voice chat. In addition, we provided Tetris 99 as a special offer to Nintendo Switch Online members this February, and then in May began selling Nintendo Switch game vouchers that will allow users to purchase Nintendo Switch download titles at a discount. We recognize that making Nintendo Switch Online attractive to users is extremely important, and we will continue to make the content of the service even more appealing going forward." And so Mr. Furukawa did talk about how it's important to make sure that the Nintendo Switch Online service looks attractive to a lot of consumers so that they actually purchase it, and I think it's good that they're going to try their best to make sure that it looks even more appealing, because from right now, like my experience with it, the service itself isn't really all that good. Like the online experience isn't really all that different compared to what we were getting for free. It's like, it's basically the same amount of lag and kind of issues that we've had before, and definitely games like Smash Brothers, like there's definitely times in Smash when you're playing online where you can see the lag and it's like not that much fun to play. Well, really one of the more recent games that I know a lot of people have this experience with is Super Mario Maker 2, and I just did get Super Mario Maker 2 like a few days ago, and I tried playing some of those multiplayer levels, and I gotta say, like, those levels are like impossible to play with multiplayer online. Like it lags so much, and like even the countdown where it goes like 3, 2, 1 takes like 30 seconds sometimes, and I can say like my experience from that is like a fourth of the time I get like an actual playable multiplayer session, but most of the time it's like 3/4 of the time it would just be like a lag fest, and it's just very hard to play. And so hopefully they do make the service more appealing. Maybe they'll give us like more retro types of games, like instead of just having NES games, we could get SNES games, N64 games, GameCube games, Game Boy games, whatever they could do. There's a lot of potential. Hopefully they decide to do that. And finally, the last topic that I want to talk to you guys about is actually in regards to the Breath of the Wild sequel, which is going to be coming out for the Switch in the future. And so the Breath of the Wild sequel was announced at E3, and a lot of people are very excited for it, myself included. Breath of the Wild was an amazing game on the Switch, so I can't wait to have a sequel for it. And something that's pretty interesting about this is that Nintendo actually put up a tweet just a few days ago where they were asking for people who want to help them work on Breath of the Wild 2. And so on Nintendo's official recruitment page, they actually have a couple of jobs listed, and it specifically does say that you're going to get to work on the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel, which is really cool. And the jobs that they do have listed are a 3D computer graphics designer, and the other one is a levels designer. And the description just says that the 3D designer will be responsible for working on the game's terrain, including field dungeons, while the level designer is taking on a role that will focus on planning and implementation of areas such as game events, dungeons, and more. Now I just think that this is exciting because of how they mentioned dungeons a couple of times and field dungeons and things like that in the job listing, because one of the little complaints that people did have with Breath of the Wild, I mean it's an amazing game, but like one of the small things that people just didn't like all that much about it was how we really didn't have any traditional Zelda-like dungeons. We had like the Divine Beast instead, and people were just like, I wish we just had traditional Zelda-like dungeons. And so if they're actually going to be hiring people for making dungeons and stuff like that, maybe we are in fact going to be getting like traditional Zelda-like dungeons in Breath of the Wild 2. And so if that turns out to be the case, then I know a lot of people will be very excited, and to be honest, I do think that they're probably taking a lot of the feedback from what people didn't like about Breath of the Wild and implementing all of that into Breath of the Wild 2, so I'm definitely very excited for it. Now I tweeted about this as well. I said recently Nintendo said that they're working hard to make their next gen controller as best as they can and make the Nintendo Switch Online more appealing for people. How do you all feel about this? Any hopes for either of them? Reply to this tweet and you could be featured in my next video. So my dude Slow Speedrun is saying, honestly, if they just made the online smoother and more stable, it would be fine for the price. Mario Maker 2 online is unplayable, and I gotta agree with you, man. Like I said before, like I tried doing the 4-player online and it's just so laggy. Like 25% of the time, like I get a good match, but like 75% of the time, the matches are just so laggy and unplayable, it just really sucks. Random here is saying I'm okay with the standard Pro Controller, but if they can make a better one, that's cool. And God, I hope they really fix the online, then it'll just be more enjoyable to play any game online. That's totally true as well. Some games like Smash Ultimate and Mario Maker 2 just aren't that much fun, so hopefully we could get like dedicated servers or something because we really do need them. Weevil here is saying if they can fix the drift problems with the Joy-Cons, that would be amazing. For $80 worth of technology that is borrowing from previous aspect types of Nintendo consoles, it doesn't hold up well with the fact that the joystick drifting happens so commonly, as well as how fragile they are. Now personally, I don't really have this issue because I don't play many of my games in handheld mode. Like I really only play handheld mode games when I'm away somewhere and I need to have my Switch in handheld mode, but besides that I'm always using the Pro Controller, and sometimes I even play with the Pro Controller in tabletop mode, so my Joy-Cons are pretty much like normal. Like I really just don't use them all that much. But if you're always playing with the Joy-Cons, then this is definitely an issue that I know a lot of people have, where the Joy-Cons are just like drifting with the joysticks by themselves, so hopefully they can really fix that with the next controller. Decidueye here is saying, I don't know about you, but when I heard that they're making a controller for all people, I thought about the Xbox adaptive controller. Maybe they'll make something similar to that. I'm thinking about a controller with changeable buttons and stick configurations. Now that would be pretty cool if like you could like move the position of like buttons and sticks wherever you want. That would definitely be a very unique controller, and I think a lot of people would like that because they could totally match their preference. Tony is saying, as for the new controller, I hope that it'll make things easier and not add an additional burden to the control scheme, like how motion controls can make things difficult. As for Nintendo Online, I'm hoping for post-NES type games. PS, I'm still waiting for custom themes Nintendo, and that's definitely true as well. Like I hope that the controller doesn't add a lot of new gimmicks and things that make it really confusing. And for the online post-NES games, please, like SNES, N64, anything but NES, please. Like just give me any like other retro games. And then also for custom themes, that's also true as well. Give us custom themes, Nintendo. We literally have black and white for like the past 2 years. Give us something more. Also give us Xenoblade icons for the profile pics. Like please give us that too. But yeah, definitely agree with you on all that. And then finally, this guy here is saying anything other than the NES games. That's definitely true as well. Give me any retro game besides NES games. We pretty much got like so many NES games now. Just give me any other Nintendo system besides NES. But yeah, that is going to do it for all the responses, guys. I'm sorry I couldn't read all of them. We get so many of these and I don't want to make the video too long, but thank you guys so much for all your responses. And remember, if you ever want to be featured in videos like this, then just go and follow me on Twitter at @Aero. And so there you go, guys. That's all the information that we have right now about Nintendo's next generation controller, how they're supposedly going to improve the Nintendo Switch Online, and how The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is supposedly going to be hiring people to work on dungeons. If you guys enjoyed this video, then please be sure to click that like button, and also comment down below and let me know what you guys think of all this. What do you guys think about Nintendo's next generation controller? How do you think that they could improve Nintendo Switch Online? And what are your hopes for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. If you're new to this channel, then please be sure to subscribe. I'm definitely going to have some more Nintendo content in the future, so please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Click on that bell to become part of the notification squad. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Xenoblade and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. And remember to enter my giveaway as well. If you want to have a $20 Nintendo eShop card, just go and follow me on my Twitter. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.